So this is a quick video summary about how to send signals from this Behringer Xenyx X2442 mixer from the various channels and into these subgroups here. Now, when I first got this mixer, I was a bit confused because in the subgroup section you got 4 faders there, and then it refers to the first one being for 1 and 5, then the second one being for 2 and 6, and the third one being for 3 and 7, and the fourth one being for 4 and 8, and you've got these buttons above them as well. But when you go to the channel strips, what confused me is on the channel strips it only says button 1 or 2 or 3 and 4. So how come there are 4 sliders here or faders on the subgroup section, but there are only 2 buttons here? So what you want to be able to do is send 4 various groups of instruments to these individual channels so that you have better control over them. So in a real live setting, for example, you could send all of the vocals to 1 and 5, all of the guitars and keyboards to 2 and 6, all of the drums to 3 and 7, and maybe some other instruments to channels 4 and 8, just as an example of how you could use that. So what I wasn't sure how to do is, how can I do that if there are only 2 buttons on here but there are 4 sliders here? So that was the difficulty that I had. Maybe you had the same question on this particular mixer. Well, all you have to remember is that for channels 1 and 5, any channel that you send instruments or anything from into those channels, first of all you have to make sure that both the left and right buttons are depressed and pushed down, and then you also have to make sure that the pan control is panned hard left. Okay, so any instruments that you send from any of these channels all the way across, anything that you send, if you want it to go into 1 and 5, you have to make sure that the pan setting on that channel is panned hard left, and then it just basically repeats. So anything that you want to send into channel 2 or 6, again you have to make sure that both buttons left and right are depressed, and then in that case you have to make sure that any channels that you send to that subgroup are panned hard right. Okay, and then with the sub 3 and 7, then again make sure that your left and right buttons are pushed down, and any channels that you send to that subgroup, you have to make sure that those channels are panned hard left. Okay, and then finally with channel 4 and 8, or group 4 and 8, you have to make sure that the left and right buttons are depressed, and that any channels that you send to that subgroup are panned hard right. Okay, and also on your channel strips you have to make sure that you push down either buttons 1 or 2 or 3 and 4, depending on which group you want to send the channel into. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, but here's just a little summary here. So basically just remember that you have to push all the buttons down, and whatever channel, if you're using channel or subgroup 1 and 5, make sure that anything that you send into that is panned hard left on the channel strip. If you're sending any signals into 2 and 6, make sure that you pan the pan control on any of those channels hard right. And then if you're sending any signals from any channels into group 3 and 7, make sure that you pan the pan control on those channels hard left. And if you're sending any signals to subgroup 4 and 8, just make sure that you pan any of those channels hard right. I know it seems a bit back to front, but if you do that, the sound will come out of both of your PA speakers and it will come out nice and clear as well. And then you can use these faders here to control individual groups of instruments or vocals or whatever you send into them. So just remember that, really. But if you have any questions, just put them in the comments section and I'll try to answer them. And this mixer again is the Xenyx X2442.